Hey YouTube, if you've been to Lowe's recently, you've seen the same explosion of red that I've seen over there. That's right, tonight we're going to be discussing Craftsman, how they fit into the tool landscape, if they're worth checking out. So let's get right into that on Tinker with Tools. Alright, so as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Craftsman tonight. The more and more I go to Lowe's, the more red I'm seeing pop up in the stores, and they are pushing it very hard. Now, if you're not familiar, Craftsman used to be sold by Sears. It started in the 1920s and was once known as a proud American company that sold high-quality hand tools and power tools that, for the most part, if you broke them, you could just take them back into Sears and get a replacement on the spot. Now, as Sears went downhill and eventually went out of business, the Craftsman name kind of dwindled in quality. Stanley Black & Decker, the owner of DeWalt, Porter Cable, Black & Decker, and a couple other brands, actually purchased the Craftsman name and shortly thereafter struck a deal with Lowe's to carry the brand in their stores. And since then, the amount of Craftsman you see in Lowe's has just gone up and up. Now, their cordless lineup is known as their V20 lineup. And if you handle the tools, you'll see quite a bit of similarities between some of the lower tier DeWalt offerings from prior generations and the technology and performance that you're going to see in these tools. Now, this example right here, this kit, is actually a two-tool kit from Craftsman in their RP lineup, which stands for Runtime and Performance. Where does this compare, and what should it be compared to when you're coming to other tool brands? Well, I think the more I've thought about it, the most likely comparison for me is that of Ryobi. So we'll go ahead and see how that compares to some of the offerings from Ryobi, the Craftsman RP, and the Ryobi on similar size batteries, knowing that you can get larger batteries for both of these. And we are going to be comparing this today to a Ryobi HP impact driver. It is a variable speed trigger only, and so it does put it as a nice comparison with the Craftsman. It does have it beat on torque. They actually claim some pretty lofty torque claims here. They do both feature a quick insert collet, which is a nice feature. We are running both of these on 1.5 amp hour batteries. All right, so first we're just going to be starting with some 2.5 inch deck screws. First with the Craftsman. I'm going to try and see how much control you have with the trigger. You know, pretty good control with the trigger. I will say, kind of being a, if you will, a hand-me-down DeWalt from over the years, I do think it has inherited some of the good ergonomics that the DeWalt has. So now let's do a couple with the Ryobi and get a feel for that. That one felt maybe less controllable. You can see the increased torque from the Ryobi is playing a role right there in that it's not impacting till the very end of the screw. Let's go ahead and do 2 times 3.5 inch deck screws per each tool. Now let's go ahead and go to the Craftsman. One of the curious things that I'd love to get an answer from Craftsman on is their previous brushless V20 impact driver that was kind of their top tier actually had 1,700 inch-pounds of torque, and yet this one drops down to 1,500, which puts it in a weird place. All right, so now we have some 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch SPACs. Now a 4-inch for the Craftsman RP. Now let's go to the 5-inch one. And now with the Craftsman. We are going to skip the 6-inch. So we're just going to do a 5-inch power lag. When we move over to the drilling, we'll do a couple of simple drilling tests with each of these, just so you can get a comparison there. But for now, let's actually move on to the drills. All right, and then when it comes to the drill drivers, this is the model number PBL DD01. It is their HP drill driver. It is not the compact one. Some of the major differences here is although the clutch selector ring is plastic, the actual chuck is all metal, whereas on the Craftsman you are getting plastic for both. Maybe a little more premium fit and finish on the Ryobi. Just keep in mind, you're not going to be getting the full performance from either of these tools on these small 1.5 amp hour batteries. So these are going to be a 5-inch specs. First with the Ryobi in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Not able on the 1.5 amp hour battery to do that. I think if you went up to 4 amp hour battery, you're probably going to see it complete that test. This is not a performance that I was expecting here. I was expecting almost the opposite. All right, so 5-inch power lag. First with the Ryobi. Now let's do the 5-inch power lag with the Craftsman. So it's a clear performance advantage for the Craftsman when it comes to the drills. On the impact drivers, I would say it's almost the exact opposite. We are going to do an 8-inch timber lock. We are in speed 2 to start with the Craftsman. Now we'll go do some drilling with both sets of tools, kind of see what the difference is there. So we're going to start first with the Craftsman RP impact driver. This is just a 5/8 inch Diablo speed demon bit. That kind of let me know we're not going to be doing a ton of drilling with these tonight. And now the Ryobi. All right, so if drilling is your thing with these impact drivers, go ahead and get the Ryobi. Let's go ahead and top out at a 3/4 inch. All right, we are going to switch over to their drill counterparts with the 1/2-inch twist bit. Just kind of see what the difference is there. We are in drill mode in speed 2. With the Craftsman in speed 2 in 3, 2, 1. All right, so doing the 3/4 inch with the Ryobi HP in speed 2 in drill mode. We are getting a cutout. We're going to kick down to speed 1. Let's go ahead and try in speed 2 with the Craftsman. So for what it's worth, 350 unit watts out trumps 750 inch-pounds of torque. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward a little bit. This is the 1 3/4 Irwin speed bore, kind of the little brother to the Milwaukee switchblade that I use. Neither of these tools comes with an auxiliary handle. We'll do one more trigger pull. Did just barely start to come through with that pilot bit. It did not go all the way through. It does appear to be a little bit further through. That kind of shows you the realistic limit of these tools. All right, so when it comes to the testing, I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag. When it comes to the impact drivers, it was clear that the Ryobi impact driver benefited from additional torque and slightly higher speed. Although the ergonomics were better on the Craftsman, the Ryobi impact driver was just flat out better. Now the drills, I went into this with an impression of what I thought was going to happen. And I thought that was going to be that I was going to see the Ryobi just mop the floor with this Craftsman. And that is the farthest thing from what actually happened. I think maybe on that first fastener it was pretty even. And then from then on out, we started to see the Ryobi fail on that 1.5 amp hour battery while the Craftsman succeeded. Now the point of this isn't that you should run these tools on 1.5 amp hour batteries, because that is one of the first recommendations I'd make for either one of these tool lines, is upgrade to a slightly larger size. Now, the smaller batteries are good for lighter duty tasks. They keep the weight of the tool down. But if you're going to be doing any sort of more strenuous work, I'd recommend getting a better battery out of it. The drill performed great, both in the driving task and in the drilling task. I think it was able to do more. I think you pair that with a bigger battery. I think their next step up is they have a 2 amp hour and a 4 amp hour. And I think you actually have a pretty decent drill on your hands. The impact driver, I wonder why they would reduce the power on it and why they would take the speed down a little bit. That makes no sense to me when you're touting this as runtime and performance, and yet you neutered the performance to the point where it's losing quite handedly to the Ryobi. All right, so let's talk about the Craftsman lineup in terms of a value proposition. This kit right now is $149. Normally it's $179. When you start getting up to that $200 price point, I think that's when it starts to become more and more appealing to go with a different brand when they do some type of sale to bring their price down a little bit. Coming up, we are going to have Black Friday. That's usually when you get some of the best tool deals of the year. It's when you're going to see some of the better sales, hopefully. The Craftsman lineup is obviously quite well flushed out at this point, and you do get a lot of hand-me-down DeWalt tech that does make it into these tools, just only to a certain performance point, and that's where they seem to stop it and keep it from really progressing up into the upper tiers of performance. The big difference between the two brands is I think you're going to be able to find deals more often on the tools, and they're going to be cheaper. And then specifically, I think the batteries, if you want to have more batteries, you're going to find it for a cheaper price than what you will one of the more premium brands like DeWalt. If you like what you saw in this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit subscribe so you can see when I release new content. And if you have any questions or comments about these tools that we featured tonight, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I look forward to reading those comments and seeing what you have to offer and the amount of knowledge that you bring to this as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Tinker with Tools.